Hello and happy Saturday out there. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Hoops Talk. I'm your host, Mike DuPont. It is Saturday, January the 4th. Thanks for tuning in, however you might be following along on Instagram at Mike Dup, on Facebook at Mike DuPont II, or on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe at Mike is Kinda Funny. Let's just dive right in, recapping last night's hoops action as we always do. The Rockets got a big win over the Philadelphia 76ers. If you were able to holler at my friends in Vegas, hopefully you found a bookie with a line under 226. We talked about that yesterday. A few of the lines, there were a few lines under 226. There were a few that were over 226. There were a few that came in. There was one that checked in at 224. There were a couple that checked in at 226. There were some that checked in at 227. If you did put a few dollars down on the game, we're adults, we make our own choices. If you did put a few dollars down on the game, hopefully you were able to find one of those books that was a little light on the total, because the Rockets did get a win 118-108 over the Philadelphia 76ers. I'll let you do the math there for yourself. Unfortunately, like I said, hopefully you were able to find a bookie underneath 226. James Harden stood out in the win for Houston with a triple-double. Harden finished with 44 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists in the victory. Clint Capella also stood out in the win for Houston. Clint finished with a double-double, 30 points and 14 rebounds in the victory, holding his own going against Joel Embiid. That was a point of emphasis throughout the night. For the Philadelphia 76ers, they're on a bit of a skid since that Christmas Day victory over the Milwaukee Bucks. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games here, including 4 straight losses. You might hear from a few news outlets today, including ESPN. You might hear from Joel Embiid about that current skid. But when you look at the box score, there was not too much help on the night. I'd love to hear from you if you sat down and watched the game on ESPN last night. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. However you're following along on Instagram at Mike Dup, on Facebook at Mike DuPont II, or on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe at Mike is Kinda Funny. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the game last night. Either game, the Lakers versus the Pelicans. The Lakers got a huge win. Anthony Davis in his return put up 46 over the New Orleans Pelicans. Love to hear your thoughts on that Houston-Philadelphia game as well. Again, 3 guys finished with 20 points in that loss for Philadelphia. Tobias Harris finished with 24 points. Joel Embiid racked up 20 points and 12 rebounds in the loss. Ben Simmons stood out for Philadelphia with 29 points, 13 rebounds, and 11 assists, a triple-double in the loss. Again, I'd love to hear from you and hear your thoughts on why the Sixers have continued to experience this skid. I know the popular answer is going to be Ben Simmons needs to fix his jump shot. I mean, the guy led the team in scoring. I mean, what do you want him hitting? You want him hitting 3 more threes? You want him hitting 3 threes along with the 29 points? So that way he has 38. You want the guy scoring 38. I mean, even if he gave you 3 more threes, the Sixers still lose 118-117. At some point, you've got to find somebody else to lump it on. Al Horford has not been very productive throughout this short stretch. He's been productive defensively. It's hard to say he's been too productive defensively when I'm talking about Clint Capella with 30 points, 14 rebounds, and James Harden with a 44-point triple-double. But he has helped them in their pick and roll rotation, in their switching, in their overall defensive matchups, in their rotations. But at the same time, he's not helping them very much that's not translating in the box score. You're not seeing points on the board. And bigger than Al Horford, bigger than Josh Richardson, bigger than their lack of contributions right now, there's an issue with that bench. That bench is really struggling. If you have an immediate thought while you're watching this video or listening to this video, however you might be consuming it, if you have an immediate thought of one player on that bench that could go get you 15 points right now if you needed it, Game 6, and your playoff hopes, your playoff lives depend on it, I'd love to hear from you. I'd really love to hear from you. It might be time for Philadelphia to start entertaining those trade discussions. Another team in the Eastern Conference entertaining those trade discussions right now, a name to follow all the way up until that trade deadline. Again, officially, just to hit that really quickly for all of my basketball fans out there, the NBA trade deadline in 2020 is Thursday, February 6th. 3 p.m. Eastern. That is when the trade deadline will go into effect. No, there may be a few trades that trickle in after that 3 p.m. deadline, but that's only because they were sent to the league offices maybe at 2:57, 2:58. But 3 p.m. Eastern, Thursday, February 6th, that is officially the NBA trade deadline for 2020. A name that's gaining traction right now is Andre Drummond of the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons they're squandering really their playoff hopes. They've really been in the skid ever since Luke Kennard went down with an injury, and they've really been babying. They've really been taking a slow approach to his rehab, and it's really affected. I know one player, Luke Kennard at that. It doesn't have a drastic overall effect on wins and losses, but it's really showed its ugly head for the Pistons in the standings as they continue to skid downward. The Nets right now, according to ESPN, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, the Atlanta Hawks are currently interested in the services of Andre Drummond, and they do have an offer on the table that is gaining traction. The Brooklyn Nets would send their 2020 first-round pick plus expiring contracts from the Atlanta Hawks. Again, this is according to an ESPN report from Adrian Wojnarowski. The Brooklyn Nets would send their 2020 first-round pick to Detroit. The Atlanta Hawks would send expiring contracts for cap relief to Detroit as well. In exchange, the Hawks would receive Andre Drummond. You might be thinking, just really quickly, a quick reaction might be, well, where's the big money in Atlanta's books? It's a great question. Well, of course, I've got an answer to that for you. A name you might not have heard for a while. You can go look for them. If you can find them, I'd love to hear from them. If you can see them, let me know. Chandler Parsons on the books in Atlanta right now for $25 million. Haven't seen very much of him this season, last season, or any season, but Chandler Parsons right now could make that cap relief, could help ease that cap relief for the Pistons and for the Hawks. $25 million on the books this season. Two other names on the books for the Hawks for big money that could help with that cap relief situation. Evan Turner on the books for $18 million. Allen Crabbe also on the books for $18 million. So those are three guys right there that combine for at least about $60 million worth of cap relief just in this season alone. My guess would be that Chandler Parsons would be moving. I'm not sure that the Pistons would be anxious to take on that $25 million, but I do believe he is a free agent after this season, so it would just be in the short term. Again, as usual, this is not just conversation for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments as well. Of those three names, which would you be, I guess, which would be most digestible, I guess, for you to take on? Which salary cap would you have the least problem going ahead and eating for the rest of the season? My guess would be Evan Turner, maybe Allen Crabbe, not Chandler Parsons, considering that we haven't seen him at all this season. And if we have, it was in a mop-up duty. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, it does appear that Andre Drummond is going to be on the move. That'll be an interesting follow. That's according to an ESPN report from Adrian Wojnarowski. Right now, the Atlanta Hawks are the biggest name and involved right now. Excuse me. That doesn't mean that there aren't other suitors involved, but right now that is what is on the books, according to an ESPN report from Adrian Wojnarowski. Looking ahead, there are no national games tonight or tomorrow. There are no national games tonight or tomorrow. Again, there are no nationally televised games tonight or tomorrow, Saturday or Sunday. So everyone out there, enjoy your playoff action around other leagues. Be safe, be blessed, enjoy your day. Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in.